got all checked up. Okay.
Oh my Lord!
Always.
You're welcome.
It's not anything different.
Hey there, guys, and welcome to this episode.
Wait, because I was going like this and you're like, hey guys.
Gosh.
Okay, I'm ready. 3 and 2.
No, okay. All right. Hey there, guys, and welcome to another episode of Backyard Gossip. I am Aisha Fair.
I'm Jeremy Head.
And I'm Elias Black.
And we are Backyard Gossip. And today, well, first of all, we're in Arizona where it's hot as...
AF.
Yes, hot fish grease. I don't know what you're listening, but it's hot. So today we are in our offices, and we're going to bring you guys some juicy stuff today. So I'm super excited.
If it's your first time tuning in,
Yes.
We are Backyard Gossip, also known as BYG, and we talk about anything and everything related to real estate, and we're just going to dive right in.
Absolutely.
So, hey guys, I wanted to talk about one thing that happened this week in real estate. I was working with another agent, right? So we were repping the seller and they were repping the buyer. And the agent, towards the end of closing, decided to go out of town, and not just out of town, but out of the country. So, what are your guys' thoughts on that? I mean, he didn't tell me, he didn't tell Elias, he didn't tell the lender, he didn't tell the title.
What? So you represented who, you said?
We're representing the seller.
Oh, so he had a buyer.
Yeah, so let's just for a full understanding. So Jeremy and I work together. He's my husband, so as you know, but for the people out there may not know. For the BYG folks, Jeremy's my husband here and there, but we're together. We represented the seller. So Jeremy, listing agent, co-listing agent, or vice versa, however you call it. We're working together on the transaction. And.
Well, hell, you just jumped in. Like you were going to finish the story.
That's what I thought too. No, we're not starting over.
Yeah.
So in the middle of the transaction, so we're trying to get close of escrow, and it was supposed to happen on Friday, and then the agent kind of went ghost a little bit, and they are a newer agent. You can tell by their license number. And so I just found it odd that he would just go out of town without, and they don't have to tell us, right? Like, but we were trying to get a hold of him with, where's the status with close of escrow?
I'm
just curious. Are you guys saying that we can't go out of town as agents?
No, I'm not saying that.
Okay, well.
Y'all can go out of town.
No, because your asses go out of town. I see you.
We do.
Okay. So what are you saying?
But top performing agents can really go out of town.
Are you calling yourself a top performer?
Absolutely. Top performing
Okay.
agents can go out of town without their client knowing, and still perform and still do their job out of state or
So are you
on
saying
vacation.
that we owe, as a professional courtesy, they should have informed you? Was that going to change that agent's behavior at all, you think?
Well,
you know what I mean, the way they were. What is it that you needed that made you realize that he was gone?
So
what happened?
Because there was a lot of things happening. The lender wasn't 100% clear on when they could get clear to close towards for close of escrow. Title really didn't have an idea of what was happening, and so the lender wasn't communicating with title. Then the agent wasn't communicating with us, and we were trying to get a hold of the lender, and then the lender wasn't responding. I mean, there were so many issues that were happening, and the agent just was not around to provide any kind of insight or information that pertained to the transaction, which we needed.
Yeah.
I mean, we're still representing our client, right? So we need to give our client something, and we don't have anything. And the agent was just like, I'm out. And I think the only reason we found out is that we called him, and his ring is different. Like when you go out of the country, the ring is different.
It is.
So we just asked him, like, hey, are you out of town? Like, what's happening? Yeah, I'm out of town. The soonest I can get back would be like Monday or Tuesday. This was already planned.
So question for you guys, or you specifically, Elias. So when you go out of town, do you tell the person that you're working with, hey, I'm going to be out of town, and tell me why. Why do you do that?
Yeah, great question. So yes, we most certainly do. First, before we go out of town, we usually send out a note. We put in our email and out of office note, kind of like corporate America, like we used to do. So we'll put out our out of office on so that folks know in advance, and we usually do that a week in advance. And then, as probably 3 days before we leave town, we email or call our clients and have a conversation. Hey, we're going to be out of town. This is what's happening. We're all caught up. Paperwork's caught up. Make sure everyone's status so that everyone has clear understanding of where we are now and what's happening with next steps. And then we also, of course, let our professional partners know, like the title escrow, the lender, and then the buyer's agent, or the other side of the transaction if we have the buyer and the seller's agent.
And why would that be important to your client?
Yep.
Like,
So
why is that important to your client?
So as we go through the purchase or the sales process with buying and selling homes, there are oftentimes, almost daily, buyers and sellers have questions. And it's dynamic. It's extremely dynamic or fluid. It changes all the time. They may have a question today. We talk about it, get over the hump, and then tomorrow they have another question. The challenge with this is, and not for us, the challenge with the client is that these questions sometimes are, for the client, it's ultra important. They are losing sleep over it. They're stressing out over it. And we want this to be a smooth transaction for all of our clients. And so we try to make ourselves available for that.
Do you guys find yourself, because I do it a little different. If I'm representing, if I have some buyer clients, I'm very specific that I'll be gone because they require something a little different from me than a listing or a seller, right?
Sure.
So I don't tell my client or the other side that I'm leaving unless I feel like there's something that could happen or I'm not going to be available in a situation like that. So I will definitely tell my buyers. So if I'm actively working a buyer, they will know I'm out of town. If I'm under contract and everything's going smoothly, that buyer will know. Chances are I might not tell the agent, but I think that you guys know too. And
unless she needs us. When she
yes,
needs
and
us,
which I will call them. But that's a cool thing about
Right.
I mean, we're able to utilize each other.
Yeah.
So I don't necessarily think I have to tell someone if I feel like it's not going to interfere with the transaction. However, I can see the plus in doing it the way you guys do it. But I also feel like if you're a good agent, no one's gonna know.
That's true.
You know what I'm saying?
Absolutely.
No one's gonna know that you're gone because you're still. Because I know for me, and we talk about it all the time. If you want to get busy, go the hell out of town. Take a vacation, right?
Now we say that to each other all the time.
Like, okay, you guys want to get busy? Let's go take a vacation. So you get accustomed to being able to do things.
Right.
Unfortunately, on the road or on vacation, you
in
get
the airport,
very
on the plane, in the cab, in the Uber, whatever.
Look, during a movie, right? Didn't you tell me like you had a situation where you didn't even get to enjoy a movie?
Right, my birthday movie with my family.
But that's what I'm saying.
Yeah.
But you still.
I don't remember it though. I mean, it was so long ago.
But it was on my birthday.
Okay.
But no, but I'm just saying that just shows.
Hold on, let me set my tea out. I broke my straw.
See,
That's what you get.
Right?
That's what you get.
But I guess it really goes to show how important or how you prioritize your clients, right?
Absolutely.
They're first always, whether you're here or not. But I do like that you guys kind of do notifications. I just don't because I think sometimes people just assume if you're gone, then the ball has dropped. Do you know what I'm saying? Even if you're telling them, I will be here, I'll be available, and I think like you said.
And maybe that's part of the reason why we do tell them, because we're so on our phone. Like if you text us, we're gonna respond right away. If you call us, we're gonna answer the phone or we'll call you right back. I guess I kind of think we do it just for a little bit of grace. So if we're on a flight and they happen to call or text, they know that we're traveling and it's not because we're not responding to them. So I think that's more so why we do it, so that they know at this particular block of time, we're not going to be available. So if you don't get the normal response, which is swift and quick.
So is that more so for your client or for the other agent?
Both.
Okay.
So I think our clients know, most of our clients, we know most of our clients. We're 100% referral a 100% referral business, very similar to you. So our clients know us, or there's always some kind of rapport. With that comes our clients knowing that when they call or text, we're going to respond either right away, within a minute, within a couple of minutes, 2-3 minutes. And if we don't, it's usually within 15 minutes.
Just so you guys know, I'm not responding in a minute or two, but I promise I will let you. No, just
right.
I make you a promise. Look, it might not even take me a minute. It might be seconds. No, just kidding. But I get.
But here's why we let them know, because what we don't want is to jump on a plane and we're on a plane for 2 hours, unavailable. They're calling and texting and they're like, oh, this is out of character. Like, what's going on? So we just want to open and clear communication. Everybody knows, and it just simplifies the process.
Yeah.
No, and I get that, and that's what I'm saying. Like, if I'm actively working a buyer, I'm very clear. Depending on where I am with a listing or something, I might not say anything based on, do you know what I mean? Unless I feel like there's something going to come about or whatever the case may be. But I think I might try that. I think I might try.
I think there's benefits to over communicating, and there's some to like you said, a good top producing agent is seamless with their clients and their transactions. So you're right. Like in normal cases, no one can tell when you're out of town and when you're not. So
right. And
I also understand that part too.
Yeah, I think that's really important. So what happened with this agent? They just were not. But let me ask you this.
I think it's because it was new.
Okay.
Personal opinion.
Well, you were new at some point. But
I was new at some
yes,
point. I was new. However, I was trained by two top agents.
He's right.
Who said, pick up your phone and communicate with everybody.
Yes.
I'm just saying. There's
but
a difference.
I will say, let me ask you this: was he more responsive here, or was this person's character? Do you know what I'm saying?
Point.
Do you know what I mean? Like,
That's
is
a very
this
good
just
point.
who he was, or did you see a difference? Do you know once he left?
It may be a character,
A character flaw?
not necessarily a flaw, but it might be part of their character.
What do you think of it?
It wasn't different throughout the transaction. It was pretty consistent.
So even when he returned, it felt like he was out of country still?
Okay, can I just...
It just seemed like he had a full-time job.
Let me just zero in on it for you. No, I think it's two things. I think it's character, one, and two, I think in this case, the agent wasn't a full-time agent. The agent had a second job and was more focused on that than he was focused on the transaction.
Where's Clay?
Truth be told. Or her client, either one.
Yeah.
But
So
But
that
that's
as it may, it was just a lack of communication. The communication was better in the beginning, and over time it waned. Communication waned.
Yeah.
So almost like I got you and I'm under contract, so whatever happens.
Pretty much. That's what it felt like.
See, that's so disappointing with agents.
And here's why it matters. It's one thing for someone to be gone and not answering your calls or your text messages. It's another thing, at least in my mind. They left on a Friday. The individual left on a Friday, and guess what? They left on the Friday morning, and by noon, their lender had loan documents ready to go, and we could have closed that day. But then the agent didn't come back until the following Monday, late afternoon. We couldn't close till Tuesday now. So it delayed the transaction out. Our client at the time was in the position to cancel the contract. We had already cured them for non-performance.
And so tell them what a cure is, just so they understand.
Yeah, in real estate in Arizona, when one of the parties in a real estate transaction is not performing, the non-breaching party in that transaction can send written notice to the breaching party, evidencing or listing the reason why they're in breach of contract. From that point, from the moment they receive that notice, the breaching party then has 3 days to remedy or fix or cure the breach.
Okay,
so we had already cured them prior to Friday. So then you have Friday, we didn't close. So Saturday, Sunday, Monday, we could have, if the seller really wanted to, we could have canceled and kept that buyer's earnest money.
But you guys didn't.
Right, but had we could have. And the buyer, our seller at the time, our client actually did it, correct me if I'm wrong, Jeremy, our client actually did it to the previous buyer in that transaction. There was another, before we got this client or this buyer, we were under contract with a different party who did not perform, and our seller cured them, waited the 3 days, they didn't remedy the cure, and our seller kept the earnest money.
$3,000.
So here's why it's important to the client, whoever's got this, this type of agent that's not communicating and following through, it could cost you money. And by now, it's not just your $2,000 in earnest money, or $3,000 or $5,000 or however much it was. It's the money you paid for an appraisal, probably $500 to $600. It's the money that you paid for a home inspection, probably another $450 to $475. You're out all that money. So now your $2,000 is looking like closer to $3,000.
So what do you think and consumers should be looking for when it comes to that? And I know there's a whole bunch of things that people should be looking for, but how do you know? How is a consumer supposed to know the type of agent that they have, or that they got, their communication style? Do you know what I mean?
Well, I think the consumer is too trusting. First of all, they just trust that they're an agent, and they're going to do their job, and they're going to be, this amazing person, because because they're an agent. It took some hours and some licensing to get here. Consumers, I think, just need to ask more questions. It's an interview, essentially. Ask the questions. Do you produce? Do you communicate? How do you communicate? Well, I like to text. Are you going to be able to text me? I don't want you to call me all the time.
Communication style.
Right?
That's good.
That matters, because everyone is different. You're not going to send emails to one particular client and expect all of them to respond to emails. Maybe they're not too savvy with emails and they want in person. Are you able to communicate with each client separately or differently? I think it all boils down to ask the questions that are important to you, and check their production. There's nothing wrong with going back and saying, like, how much did you close? You specifically, not your team, not, Miss Betty Amazing at the top, because that's who they saw on television. Ask them specifically, how many transactions have you done? How many, can you communicate with me the way that I like to? And what are you going to do for me that is different from somebody else? I think those are important things that consumers should ask.
And I think that's big too, because I think a lot of times consumers try to go more so like, okay, every agent knows what they're doing. And I think for the most part, the majority of us do know what we're doing. But I think the what is your communication style is big, because I do have clients who I get a little frustrated with it, but I'll get clients who will text me all of the documents that I didn't text, and I'm like, oh, I would prefer email. Do you know what I mean? Like, to send those documents, because I'm doing most of that work on my computer. So then, of course, however it's going to work for them, I will make the adjustment.
Right.
Do you know what I mean? So exactly.
Right.
So when they send them, I'll just forward it over to my computer. You know what I mean? My email, so that I can make that adjustment as well. And I think that's important, but I think that's big. I don't think enough consumers ask us, you know what I mean? What is your communication style? Because this works best for me, and are you going to be able to?
Right. They trust the professional, but not everyone is a professional.
And that's true, yeah. And just because you are a professional doesn't mean that their form of communication is going to work with you, me, or you.
Yeah,
do you know what I mean? So they could still be very professional in what they're doing. It just doesn't work for you.
Yeah.
Do you know what I'm saying? So I think that's important too for the consumer.
Well, you heard it here on Backyard Gossip.
Make sure you ask questions. That's
Yes,
important.
ask questions, ask lots of questions. And really, I think that's the biggest relationships are communication, right? And this is
a relationship business. 100%.
A business, yes, a business relationship that requires a lot of communicating the way you want us to communicate, not how we want to communicate.
That's right.
So, like Aaliyah said, you heard it first.
On Backyard Gossip.
On Backyard Gossip.
We look forward to catching you guys on the next Backyard Gossip. If there's something that you want to talk about, or a burning real estate question you have, send us a message, DM, call, text, whatever you need, and we will try and get it on the show.
And if you're looking to buy in the Arizona metro market, feel free to give us a call.
Catch the tea on the next BYG.